Let's take a look at max level stealth skills that we haven't seen before in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like we knew they were in the game, but now we finally got some gameplay since I could use them in my Gamescom demo. If you enjoyed that, then a like would be super appreciated, and let's go. Let's start with the big one, the highest skill in the stealth skill window that you unlock later on in the game. So how it works, of course, is that you need an ability point, but also a certain level of the Spear of Leonidas that you can upgrade at the diverse civilization shrines in the world. We still don't know a lot about that part of the game and how it's tied to the story as well, but in my recent play session at Gamescom, I was already level 50 with a level 6 Spear of Leonidas that is likely the highest level of the spear, so I could already get the Shadow of the Nyx ability and upgrade it to the final level. You first need to have the Stealth Master ability though, that reduces your noise from movement and the assassination. Upgrading that passive ability decreases the enemy detection, so it will be harder for them to spot you, but you don't need to upgrade it to unlock the Shadow of Nyx skill. So the deal with this highest stealth ability is that it makes you turn invisible for as long as you have adrenaline. So you build up adrenaline by hitting the target or shooting enemies with your bow, for example, and the more you got, the longer you stay invisible. But what is interesting is that the way you can use it changes dramatically the more you level up this ability. So if you got it on level 1, you cannot move, so you have to stay in place to make it effective and have the enemies not notice you. Upgrading it will make you able to move as well, but you still cannot attack, or if you are close to a target, you will also get spotted as well. But yeah, moving is already a big upgrade, so you can like sneak past enemies more easily. Upgrading it to level 3, the max level of this ability, and also for every regular ability, is that it will let you aim a bow in this invisible state, so you can like move around, aim for the head, and then shoot for a guaranteed crit. Also cool is like sneak from a bush, like turn invisible, and then sneak up to an enemy, assassinate them from behind because they did not see you coming. Good to note, and this is the case for most of the stealth abilities, is that you have to be out of conflict to do the Shadow of Nyx ability. So you can't like in the middle of combat turn invisible and then run away. There is an ability though in the stealth window that will help you get out of conflict during combat. With Vanish you can like throw some sort of flash bomb or actually a burst of bright light that stuns the enemies, so you can like move into the shadows again, or actually like run into the grass, and then you can turn invisible again if you indeed stunned all the enemies. It's a pretty cool tactic for sure, but don't go and stand in front of the person, because even if you are invisible, they will still notice you. Oh yeah, and why do it? To engage in combat, if you can also just sneak your way past the enemies to get to your objective more easily. What I also did was use the ability to watch my mercenary fight, because that is another really cool stealth ability, Call to Arms, that we also haven't really seen in action yet, apart from the short video in the ability window. Well, during Gamescom I could use it a lot, and I can confirm that it's not only fun to use, but also very effective. So in order to use this Call to Arms ability, you first of course need to recruit a mercenary or other soldier in the world. So I sneaked up to this pretty cool looking knight for a good stealth attack, followed up with some nice rapid slashes from the dagger, and then an overpowered attack that is insanely long and does a ton of damage to one target. So now Callisto the Cursed was almost down, so now it was time to very carefully deal some extra damage with the bow, because I did not want to kill her, of course, then you can't recruit her anymore. So it's like catching a Pokemon. When she was low enough, I switched over to my paralyzing arrows that deal less damage but will knock out the target instead of killing them. So that way you can recruit her. I think it's a girl, right? Anyway, in the ship menu you can hire the character, so she will be part of your crew. But more importantly, she will be summoned if you activate the Call to Arms ability. In this case, like hiring the character cost almost 1000 gold, but that was not a lot on the max level. And because Callisto is on the top left like of the menu, she will be summoned with the Call to Arms ability, but you can like switch it up every time if you want. Because you can have 4 lieutenants at the same time on your ship, but only the one on the top left of the menu will be summoned with this ability. I know some of you might already know this information because I already talked about it in my recruitment video, but now we can actually show the ability in action. I now also know why it's a stealth ability, and that is because you can only use it while out of conflict. So you have to select an enemy before you engage in the fight, and then you will have this mercenary fight with the other character, and they can choose to help or like leave them as a distraction. So if you need some help during the fight, you cannot use this call to arms ability, only when out of conflict. Still though, I think this ability is great for every playstyle. If you are a warrior, you can have someone fight by your side, and for a hunter this is amazing as well. If you go and hunt one mercenary for some nice gear, for example, and use this ability before you engage, you basically are 2 against 1. So as a hunter, you can just land some headshots from far away while the mercenary is taking the hits and asking the attention of your target. And I was like really impressed by the strength of the mercenary I summoned as well, and also the lust for blood, like immediately moving on to the next target. And I'm really curious what happens if you have even stronger mercenaries by your side. I wonder if you then can just sit back and let the mercenary do the job for you. Upgrading the ability increases the time that the mercenary stays with you, so I think that she can die, but otherwise the mercenary will disappear after a short while. On level 1, the mercenary stays for 30 seconds, on level 2, 40 seconds, and on level 3, 50 seconds, and then the lieutenant is also enraged, so likely even stronger or even more hungry for enemies. I also toyed around with some other stealth abilities that you already saw in previous videos, like the Rush Assassination, where you kind of teleport to the target and can then chain to other targets as well. But yeah, it was overall fun to finally use the Shadow of Nyx for the first time and see the call to arms in action. So I think the call to arms can be unlocked like pretty early on in the game, and the Shadow of Nyx of course very late in the game, I would imagine. And like turning invisible is of course possible thanks to the Spear of Leonidas, the versive artifact. I mean, you see it like shining on your back as well when you are invisible. Let me know what you think of these high level stealth abilities in Odyssey. I know some people might find it too magical. I kinda like the gameplay possibilities it brings to the table, and I think we can all agree that having an ally that you recruited fight alongside you is just awesome. Subscribe for everything Assassin's Creed Odyssey, of course, as we near the release. It is pretty close at this point, October 5th. Really looking forward to explore Greece, and I will have way more content, of course, coming your way before launch. But of course, around launch and after launch, the real fun begins with my in-depth analysis of the gear pieces. And of course, I keep you up to date on everything that is going on in the game, so it will be a good time. Drop a like to support the channel, check out my recent Assassin's Creed Odyssey video on some special loot that max level bosses drop, and I will speak to you next time. Goodbye!